Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, it's the football podcast. I believe that the season is starting to draw to a close at this point. What's going to happen towards the end of the season? Find out from these lovely gentlemen right now. Before we get started, please do consider like, share, subscribe, and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review. Share that podcast around, people. If you like the football, you surely know somebody that likes the football. And if you know them, you know they will love this. Send this podcast their way. Do us a favour. Right, let's get started. Here we go. This is CookieCast, football podcast.
Oh, sorry. Didn't see you there. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. It's another weekly football podcast brought to you here by us here at the CookieCast Podcast Network. For those of you watching on YouTube, you're seeing three happy, smiling faces. Well, two happy, smiling faces staring back at you through the nature of your telebox or your tablet or your phone. Yes, I'm joined by Messrs. Moore and Woodmansey. How are we this week, gents? Mixed bag, dare I say, to start us off.
I've been called worse today.
Yeah, don't really know where to go with that one.
Yeah, I would suggest you are correct.
But we'll open up on a positive, and we'll go to the Nottingham Forest arm of the podcast as our first game from last week to cover was Sunderland versus Nottingham Forest. And something we didn't cover on last week's podcast is that a member of the podcast would be live in person to watch what turned out to be a bit of a bloodbath. Can we put it that way?
It was definitely a beating. Bloodbath, maybe.
Oh yes. The use of the Simpsons stop he's already dead springs to mind. So,
well, obviously, like we didn't really mention it last week's pod because I think I'd got in touch with the Forest ticket office and had been told it was sold out and they were closing at 1:30 on Friday. And I was like, yeah, but do you get any back? And they were like, it was just basically, no, we are sold out. And we are closing at 1:30 on Friday. And like, congratulations, fine. So yes, eventually I did get a ticket. Thursday night, I think I got the ticket. So Thursday night. So then Friday, made my way over on the Metro, which was quite interesting because obviously all the Forest fans got on at Central Station. And then it proceeded to make its way through the outskirts of Sunderland, gently collecting more and more Sunderland fans as they grumbled about Forest fans being on the Metro. And you're like, well, unfortunately, there's only one way. Well, there's multiple ways that are in and out of Sunderland. But on the whole, the best way to get in and out of Sunderland is on the Metro because it's the quickest way to get in and out of Sunderland.
Probably didn't help that you'd gathered everybody up to the front of the Metro so you could all shout "choo choo" as you.
It's quite. I mean, for a ground that it's quite. The numbers don't flow, so I did a full lap of the stadium before I got in because I should have turned right when I got to the front, and I didn't. I turned left, so I got to go and see. There's a brass band because they were opening some kind of Legends Way. What a way to pay tribute to them. All the way around to the other side to then proceed to make my way up steps to go to. Oh, one level, here's the toilets and somewhere to get a pie and something to drink. Oh, here's another floor. There's nothing here for you to go to. Oh, there's another floor. You can go and there's more concessions in here. Go up to the next floor. That's the toilets and into the stadium. It's only the second time I've been. And it was definitely not that complicated when me and Stu went to watch the whole Sunderland game. So I don't know whether they've changed the end that away fans are in, but it was certainly not that complicated last time I went.
Yeah, I've not been for nearly 20 years, so
I think we were in the 2-tiered end. I think like the kind of properly 2-tiered end as opposed to the rest of it that's more of a bowl. I want to say the North Stand, I think. But once we got in, kind of after a few steps, I'm feeling quite knackered, to be honest. It was like surprisingly a long way up. Yeah, so game started. For anybody who hasn't been to Sunderland, I'd take some ear defenders or earplugs because their sound system is deafening. Like my ears were ringing when I came out. It's that bad. It went quite quiet later on, though. Match started. They're giving all the 30 minutes till kickoff, 20 minutes till kickoff, 15 minutes till kickoff, and all this kind of thing. And then they did a nice little. Then they did a tifo of like Sunderland legends, and it ripped to straight down the middle. So, which was a bit of a kind of precursor to the rest of the match.
Oh dear.
So Forest kind of picked up kind of where they left. The formation was the same as where they left off at Burnley against Burnley, just with Jai Cunha in defence instead of Murillo because he's injured at the moment. And the game started, and me and the guy who I sat next to were like, "Ooh, they're pretty like they're quite quick on the break. They kind of go." Like from front to back really, really quickly. They're quite physical. They're quite kind of thingy. And I thought, we're in for a game here. And they had a couple of chances on goal. And then, interesting to notice, I'd noticed in the warm-up, Forest spent a lot of time practicing crosses, corners, set pieces, as it were, because apparently Sunderland are not great with set pieces. And we duly found that out. First goal, Forest got a corner on their right, took it short, to which then everybody in the away end like, oh god, get in the box. To which then Hutchinson clipped it in the box to the back post. Jesus headed it back across the goal. It hit Hume and went in. So 1-0. And Sunderland kind of took that one on the chin, got back in the game. They had a few chances, and just as the bloke next to me said, "Probably could do with another here, couldn't we?" Duly obliged. I think was that. So the second one was Chris Wood, and
Correct.
So once again, it's this kind of play the ball out from the back. Obviously, Forest had realised that this was something that Sunderland did, and that their keeper was not okay doing it. So he obviously had it at his feet, tried to play it out. Wood got a touch on it. It went to Gibbs White, who played it back to him, but it was quite clever because Wood kind of went sideways to keep himself onside and to create himself a bit of space. And Gibbs White played it in and he just nudged it over the keeper and past the defender. So 2-0. Not long after that, it was a corner on the left-hand side that Nico Williams took short to Elliot Anderson, to which then did the same as what they did on the other side, which meant clipped it back to Williams, who crossed it in. Jesus nodded it back across goal, similar to what he'd done before, landed perfectly for Gibbs White, who stuck it in the back of the net. And then not long after that, another situation. I think this one came in from. I'd say this one came from the left this time. I can't remember. I can't remember that one. But it was a really kind of. That was the best finish of the lot. Like I think someone said, "Oh, the Wood finish was the best." So we had own goal first by Hume. Gibbs White made it 2. Wood made it 3. And the fourth was by Igor Jesus. And it was just a real cushioned volley straight back across the keeper that was really nicely done. And yeah, 4-0 at half time. Lots and lots of empty, sun-bleached seats in the Stadium of Light. I think there was references to it being a library and wondering if there was a fire drill as well. I think that was one of the chants. Because people flowed out. Yeah. Second half, I think I messaged you guys. Sunderland came out and it was basically by hook or by crook, we're going to take something from this game. And if it's some people's legs, we're going to do that. I mean, Amari Hutchinson was kicked all over the shop at the beginning of the second half. And after laughing at, was it Broby fouling a lot of Tottenham players the other week, he is, should we call him aggressive, shall we say? He's very much likes to put like the last kind of dig in on someone. And unfortunately, Jai Cunha got one of those around 54 minutes and went off with his arm in like where they make a sling out your shirt kind of thing. He's got a late fitness test for tomorrow, or well, for Thursday night against Villa. But they're not sure if I don't know. It's kind of gone all very quiet about what exactly was wrong with him. And Sunderland grew into the game because Forest kind of got stuck into the silly business. Like they got stuck into the arguments, they got stuck into the fights, they got stuck into the kind of silly fouls and stuff like that. And on 61 minutes, Sunderland equalised, or so they thought, because whoever the guy was who went through on Matt Sells slid, but then stuck his leg in the air, which tripped him to stop him from getting the ball from Ballard, who knocked it in the back of the net. And I think that one kind of knocked the stuffing out of Sunderland finally, because I think they thought they might be able to get something in it. So it kind of petered out into a bit of kind of like a lot of Olays. Ryan Yates came on and did his usual kind of buy a foul here and there and kind of calm it down and all that type of thing. And then right near the end, the ball was played forward to Taiwo. There's a kind of, I'll call it a fluky interchange between players. And then it kind of fell at Elliot Anderson's feet and he stuck it in the back of the net and kind of gave it the big celebration right in front of the very few Sunderland fans that stuck around, kind of thing. So like sweet kind of bit of kind of poetic justice there. And then, end of the game, 5-0 win. Lovely stuff.
Yeah, couldn't really ask for much of a better result there. Just to put it in perspective, the opening 30 minutes produced one goal, then minutes 31 to 37 produced another 3. So, for some reason, Sunderland just seemed to think that leaving Igor Jesus completely free at the back post was a great idea twice within the space of 6 minutes, and it didn't work once for him. So God knows what they were thinking. But prediction-wise, everyone got points out of this. I'd gone for a 1-1 draw with Enzo Lafay and Anderson to score, so I get a bonus point for the Anderson goal. Matt had gone for a 2-2 draw with goals from Brobby, Isidore, Wood and Anderson. But Stuart had gone for a 2-1 away win. Also went for Lafay to score for Sunderland, but had Anderson and Wood as goal scorers for Forest. So 3 points for Stuart, 2 for Matt, and just a 1 for myself. So an early lead for Mr. Woodmansey. And speaking of Mr. Woodmansey, we go to his team next as Charlton Athletic were taking on Hull in the 12:30 kickoff at Saturday lunchtime. Can we make it 2 from 2 so far for our teams this weekend?
Well,
no.
Well, it didn't start particularly well for Hull. We were forced into an early change as Elliot Matazo, making his first appearance since suffering an ACL injury in February 2025, went off after just 11 minutes. Since then, Hull have confirmed that he has suffered another ACL injury, this time to his right knee. So he's been out for just over a year with his left, 11 minutes into his return, and he does his right one. So I'd like to say, obviously, we wish him well. However, that is going to be tough to come back from, I think. He's going to have to be made of some tough stuff. In the little bit that we did get to see of him before his ACL last time, he was good. And it was essentially set to be like getting a new signing for the last couple of games of the season this year. And unfortunately, it hasn't worked out that way. I think
just to sort of dive in quickly there, I don't even think obviously most of the battle's going to be his physical recuperation and stuff like that. But how do you mentally come back from that? Like that's got to be like half of the battle for him. So the poor guy, like you say, obviously fingers crossed he's able to come back and the rehab starts now and stuff like that. But yeah, awful.
Deviating from the game slightly, there's been a bit of hoo-ha about the pitches at Hull, the training pitches and the pitch at the stadium, but mainly the stadium pitch. People saying that the rugby team have had a lot of injuries. The football team have obviously had a lot of injuries because we've had both Miller, Balumi, and now Matazo twice. And somebody pointed out that he's not been on the MKM pitch for just over a year, so we can rule that one out at least from him. It's a bit of a strange one. I think the pitch is generally not well thought of, and I think it was just another excuse to try and sort of jump on that particular bandwagon. Anyway, back to the game, but it continued to not go massively well for Hull. Charlton opened the scoring on 20 minutes with a great strike by Kelman. He'd raced onto a through ball. It was out to the left-hand side of the penalty area. Semi Ajayi decided to bring his Titanic turning circle boots, it seemed, this time around. Kelman turned him. He was forced out to the very edge of the box on the left-hand side. Didn't think anything of it, just curled it straight round Panda into the top right-hand corner. It was a really, really nice finish, to be fair. Ajayi made to look a bit of a fool, if I'm honest. Hull did take until half time to get back into the game because 7 minutes into added time, a very deep corner from Paddy McNair created a very fine angle for John Egan at the back post, who nodded it goalward, and the referee had to wait for his watch to go off to tell him that the goal had gone in. So he'd ordered the Dominoes for half time, lads. That's what can I say. So yeah, 1-1 on the stroke of half time. Annoyingly, Charlton regained the lead with another good strike on 68 minutes. Fevrier, on loan from Stockport, went on a bit of like a mazy run, ended up towards the middle of the penalty area, but like on the edge, and finished smartly into the bottom left from the edge of the box. I will say that two defenders backed off him, and Paddy McNair was just... was it Paddy McNair? It was either McNair or Egan was just too late to get to him. Probably because they thought the other two players in front of the third defender might have had a bloody goal, but no, apparently not. Little bit on the goalkeeper here as well, because obviously wrestling podcaster Mr. Max Epworth messaged me shortly after this game with a clip of the game and some alternate commentary, which I absolutely cannot play for you right now. But he basically alluded to the fact that Panda's a goalkeeper. When will we get to see him use his hands in a game? If he'd have outstretched his arm on the dive, he could have reached the ball, but not to be. Little bits and pieces after this. Balumi had a shot saved. Lyndon Dykes had a shot saved. And then right at the end of the game, Hull won a corner, and it was a really innocuous one. Like the defender was under no pressure. And it's one of them ones where you think, why has he done that? Something's definitely going to happen here. So, because it was right at the end of the game, Panda got the nod, and off he went into the box, ready to smash home a corner. Well, it didn't really work that way on the basis of basically Charlton just got hold of the ball and proceeded to counter-attack with Hull having no goalkeeper in the net. Now, bearing in mind, it's your goal, you know you've come up for it. If it was you, lads, I'm pretty sure that the first thing on your mind would be bust a gut to get back, right? Not Panda. He's just a Mr. Casual, gently little jog down the middle of the pitch. let's not even break too much of a sweat, lads. You know, the outfield players who've been absolutely running to the ground for 90 minutes whilst you've been kind of stood in the box for most of it. Yeah, you take your time, old lad. Showing him up completely, albeit he was a substitute in this game. Kyle Joseph. I feel like we need to have a conversation about Kyle Joseph as well because he basically ran from the 6 yard box in the attacking end to his own 6 yard box to make a goal line clearance to stop it becoming 3-1. That goal could make all the difference, or the lack of that goal could make all the difference this coming weekend. And Panda was very, very quick to give that up. But last season, I'm pretty sure spoke numerous times on the podcast about not sure Carl Joseph was ready. I would suggest he's possibly one of the more hard-working members of the team, not just because of this proving it, but generally speaking, when we start with him, McBurney's obviously not necessarily the most pacey striker that you're ever going to get, but Joseph seems to have grown a bit of a backbone amongst this kind of the speed as well. So he's one of them players that's just in your face and annoying. Whereas last season he was just fast and that's all he had. So he's definitely developed this season, and I wholeheartedly agree with the comments passed on to me by Max that I think generally we do play better when he starts. Will that happen in the final game of the season? Well, the good news for Hull is at least it's a home game because the result against Charlton confirmed that Hull now haven't won their last away game of the season for 19 successive seasons.
Not ideal. Deary me. Well, from a predictions perspective, not many points, but there is some. I went for a 2-1 Hull win and didn't get any of the goal scorers. I had Doherty, Gelhardt and McBurney. Stu gone for a 1-1 draw with Dykes and McBurney, so we both get nothing. Matt had gone for a 2-1 Hull win with Miller, Kumas to score for Hull. Did have a Fevrier goal for Charlton, though, so does bag himself a bonus point for that. That puts us at 3 points to Matt, 3 points to Stu, just the 1 point for myself, and takes us into the final game of the week, which saw my lot take on Watford, and I was live in attendance, ladies and gentlemen. So that's, for those of you keeping score, normally it's Mr. Woodmansey that is the member of the podcast crew that's in attendance for the games, and he was the one sat at home this weekend, whilst the other two of us got to be the cats that got the cream, and Matt wasn't the only one who saw a game where his team scored 5 goals, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. The curse of Mr. Williams was lifted for at least one game. So that's very nice of them. Borough started off, as they usually do, very much on the front foot. And rather than doing that and then not taking advantage of the chances that they create, they decided to very much take advantage of the chances they were given. So, an early effort from Alex Gilbert was deflected behind for a corner in around the 5th, 6th minute. And from that corner, Bove fouled Sonji Hansen about 30 yards out. It looked as though it was far enough for someone to have a shot, but one of those ones where it's going to have to be a spectacular strike for the keeper to be beaten from there. So Morgan Whittaker just basically said, "Hold my beer," and absolutely smashed it into the top corner. One of the best free kicks I've seen in a long time. And I was sat directly behind it pretty much. So saw it arc perfectly out and perfectly into the top left-hand corner. One of the ones that just, keeper could have stood directly in line with it and put his hands up and he was still getting nowhere near it. An absolute wonder strike. Annoyingly, the goal kind of kicked Watford into gear and put Borough back on the back foot, which was strange because I never understand when teams do this. They score to go in to take the advantage, and then seem to completely change the game plan. And Borough were very much guilty of doing this. Kierumgaard had a chance that was deflected wide of the post by Luke Ayling. Loser sent a chance wide of the left-hand side of Solburn's goal. He then had a free kick slightly closer to the box than Whittaker's chance at the opposite end, and that one was again flashed wide of the left-hand post. And then the best chance of the first half, from a Watford perspective, was when Kierumgaard was put clean through on the left side of the box. His effort looked like it was destined for the bottom corner, but Solbury managed to get a little claw to it to tip it onto the post and back into play. Luke Ayling down the other end had an effort tipped around for a corner to Borough, but Borough actually did manage to turn the screw somewhat towards the end of the first half in 45 plus 1. A little bit of interplay from Whittaker, Britton, and Sarmiento made the ball into the box down the right-hand side for Whittaker. He looked up, spotted that Strelic had made a move across the defender. His ball across the 6-yard box hits Strelic, stretched for the ball. It kind of flicked up off his leg. I think it hit him in the head and bounced into the goal. But either way, it was 2-0 to the Borough on half-time. Into the second half, Watford were the ones who started the brighter of the two, and they were rewarded almost immediately with their way back into the game. It was the centre-half Abankwa who got the goal on 48 minutes. Ball was clipped into the box by Bove, flicked on by Kierumgaard into the path of Keben, who then did the same again, flicked it on into the path of Abankwa. Had two defenders around him, and it was almost after you clawed from the defenders who kind of left it to each other, and then Abankwa was just able to muscle through and fired home from about 4 yards out to make it 2-1 to the 2-1. Well, get Watford back into the game 2-1. Cue a bit of nerves around the Riverside. One of those. Here we go. It's going to be one of those games. Hansen fired one wide when he was in the box. A bit of a snatched effort. Should have really done a bit better and worked the goalkeeper. But after 58 minutes, Borough restored their 2-goal cushion. A little ball from the left-hand side from Target was pinballing around the box, but Whittaker managed to get the last effort on target from about 4 or 5 yards out to make it 3-1. And from there, it was pretty much all Borough for the remainder of the game. Whittaker almost had his hat-trick when he smashed one off the bar from just outside the edge of the box. He was then taken off to rapturous applause around the ground, which is weird because for most of the season, all I've seen on Twitter is Borough fans moaning about the fact that Whittaker's an absolute liability. Yep, you got to love Borough fans. Aidan Morris plays a good chance, almost out of the stadium, following some good work by Tommy Conway down the left-hand side. And Borough made it 4 after they were given a penalty following a corner from the left-hand side by Matt Target. Don't really know what Abankwa was thinking as he was trying to defend and just threw his hand up in the air and basically just volleyballed it away. Clear penalty. Referee gives it. Conway takes the ball, sticks it on the spot, hits it low to the keeper's left. Keeper did go the right way, but the pace was too much for it. Took it straight past the keeper. 4-1. And Borough had their 5th in the 92nd minute. A lovely team goal sort of started from the goalkeeper. Callum Britton played the ball over the top. Castledine chested the ball into the path of Gilbert. His little ball inside into the middle of the park for Strelic. Played it from the corner first time for Conway. He picked it up about 25 yards out, carried it into the box, touched onto his right-hand side, and finished low to the keeper's right to make it 5-1. Give Borough's goal difference a very, very much-needed boost, and temporarily put them back up into 4th place and only a point behind Ipswich and Millwall. Now, going into Southampton and Ipswich's game that was played later on in the week, Borough knew that anything other than an Ipswich win would mean that it would go down to the last game of the season. So a Southampton 2-2 draw with Ipswich does very much keep it open for Borough to still get in the top 2 which we'll cover when we get to the predictions for next week. As for the predictions for this week, Stu had gone for a 1-0 Watford win, because obviously he realised that I was in attendance, so clearly thought that Watford were going to win, as did I for certain parts of that game. Sadly, Mendy did not score for Watford. I had gone for a 2-1 home win, had Whittaker, Brown and Kjerumgaard as my goal scorers, so I got a bonus point for my Whittaker goal, so I get 2 points for that. Matt had gone for a 2-1 Borough win as well, had Mama as his Watford goal scorer, but Strelec and Whittaker as two of his Borough goal scorers, so got himself 3 points for that one, which means that myself and Mr. Woodmansey tied on 3 points from 3 games, but Matt does take the week with a whopping 6 points from those 3 games. Well played, Mr. Moore. Week 35 brings with it the last games of the season for my lot and Stu's lot, but 2 games for Nottingham Forest. So we will take a very short break to compose ourselves, and then we'll come straight back at you with week 35 predictions, starting with the Europa League semi-final of Nottingham Forest versus Aston Villa. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back. And just like that, the break is over, and we are coming back at you with some predictions. So like we said, the first game, I was going to say, is the most important of the week, but clearly the most important game of the week is the third game we're going to be discussing tonight, ladies and gentlemen. But would I win? Stuart Woodmansey frantically shaking his head there. So, Nottingham Forest versus Aston Villa, first leg of the semi-final of the Europa League. I really wish this was the opposite way around and that Forest were playing the second leg at home. But that's just the way it goes, I suppose. Obviously, it's Mr. Moore's team, so he will give his prediction last. But I'll start us off here. I've gone for an optimistic. I've gone for a 2-1 home win here. Forest are in good form. I think they'll do well here. And I think they'll want something to take into the second leg to give them all the chance in the world to get to the final. So, I've gone for a 2-1 win. I've gone for Wood, Gibbs White as my Forest goal scorers, as Gibbs White is in a bit of a purple patch at the moment. And I've gone for Rodgers as my Villa goal scorer. Stu.
I have also gone for a 2-1 Forest win.
Nice.
I have also gone for Chris Wood. But the other two are different. So I've got Jesus for Forest and Buendia for Villa.
Emiliano Buendia. Go on then, Matt. Talk us through your thoughts.
I'm hoping that obviously I just want it put to bed in this fixture, because obviously we talked about the win on Friday, and I came away from that thinking, brilliant. We won 5-0 at Sunderland. Wasn't expecting that. Definitely wasn't expecting 5. This is going to put us in a really good position in the league. And then Tottenham and West Ham both won. And I was like, we're kind of exactly where we were before in the league. And
goal difference has taken a bump, though.
The goal difference has taken a massive bump, but it's still that kind of thing of you had that cushion and it's taken away. So what I really want to do is Forest go and win by a couple, and so there's a bit of distance, and we can kind of go away and try and shut up shop at their place next Thursday, or Villa stuff us, and it's over and done with on that end of the kind of thing. So I've gone for a Villa.
I get it.
I've gone for Villa giving us a right good stuff in.
Oh, Jesus.
I kind of get the feeling that Jai Cunha might not play tomorrow. So then that leaves us with Morato at the back, and he's all right, but he has an ability to go wandering at times. So I've gone for a Jesus goal for Forest, and then I've gone McGinn, Watkins, and Abraham for Villa.
McGinn, Watkins, and
it's the balance of trying to keep them interested enough in the tie, and not Forest Villa, but also interested enough in the league as well, because they play Tottenham on Sunday, and we could really do with them playing a decent side and beating them.
Yeah, it's weird for Villa, isn't it? Because obviously they've annoyingly got 2 shots at getting in the Champions League. Because obviously they can get there by the league, and they can obviously get there by winning this. And as it stands, they've got an 8-point cushion to 6th place. And obviously, it's with the coefficient stuff, it's still top 5 that get in the Champions League. So, annoyingly, they can afford to take their foot off the gas in the league a little bit. Whereas, obviously, like you said before, Forest don't really have that luxury. We'll see. We will see. Second game of the week takes us to Saturday, takes us to 12:30, takes us to last day of the Championship season, and takes us to the MKM Stadium where Hull City will be taking on Norwich City, knowing that a win might not be good enough to get them in the playoffs, but I would imagine they'll go into this thinking that they probably need the 3 points.
Well,
and then see what's going on with the other results alongside it.
Well, we need to go through this, don't we? So, it's not massively complicated. You don't need your abacus. Basically, Hull and Wrexham are on the same amount of points, so we just need to do better than they do, basically.
But which is weird, though, because there's a scenario where Hull can win and get in, lose and get in, draw and get in, win and not get in. And there's all these different scenarios, but they can lose, and depending on how the other games go, they can still get in.
Yeah,
it's just the most bizarre thing ever. Anyway, we'll do our predictions and then we'll have a little chat about it. So it's Stu's team. He'll go last. We'll go straight back to Matt for his prediction on Hull versus Norwich. Oh, he's on mute. He's on mute, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, sorry, he's on mute for a reason. So I will give my prediction first. I've got an optimistic. I've gone for a 2-1 Hull City win. I think that up until last weekend, Norwich needed to win to keep themselves in with a chance of this. They could only draw. So Norwich cannot get in the top 6. I think, therefore, there might be a possibility that anyone who's like sort of on the periphery or who's out of contract probably won't play. Anyone who they're thinking about maybe playing in the first team next season might get a game, might be a bit rusty, plays into Hull's hands. They're going for a 2-1 win. I've gone for Gelhardt and Crooks, and then Toure to score for Norwich because he seems to be in a bit of form for them at the moment. So, yes, we'll go to Matt for his prediction now.
I've gone for a 2-2 draw and a bit of a sweating it out.
Goal scorers?
Matt's been here before.
I've gone for Gelhardt and Miller.
Yeah.
And Kvistgarden and Maghoma.
Well, I can spell that second one. It's just... where are you? Jesus Christ, that's a large name. Vist Garden. Oh, he's got an extra A in there. Hopefully. Kvist Garden and where you oh, there you are, Paris. Lovely. Maghoma. Lovely. So we're better to go than the horse's mouth itself and the man who will be in the stadium in attendance, no less.
This will be the biggest test of my family stand potty mouth to date, I should imagine, given what's riding on the game. As Matt has said, sweating it out seems to be the way. I will never, ever, as a Hull fan, forget needing a win to get promoted and having to sit through a 0-0 draw at home and wait for other results to come in to see which way that had gone. Again, on the last day of the season, needing to get points against Man United to stay up or depend on other results and having to sweat out another 7 or 8 minutes of injury time because somebody somewhere had a little lie down. It's not going to be any different for me. I think it is going to be a sweating it out. I have gone for a 1-1 draw. I've gone for Maatsen for Norwich. And I have gone for Crooks for Hull. And then
is that because he's got a bit of a habit of scoring on the last day of the season?
it's mainly because he's got a habit of scoring on the last day of the season. But then, as well, there is the tie-in. Obviously, the ex-Borough man scores for Hull, and then we would need Middlesbrough to do the magic because, as it so happens, that leads nicely into Middlesbrough playing.
Well, it's funny you should say that because our third game of the week is also in the Championship standard. It's Wrexham versus Middlesbrough, with both teams going into this needing something and having something to play for. So, Wrexham currently 6th in the table. Borough currently 4th in the table. That's mean, Stuart.
Well, they should have been second if they'd shaped themselves.
Oh, don't! I've gone through all the games. Like, so if they'd have held on, so it's 2 games within the last sort of like 10 or so that they've played, where they've conceded in like the 96th minute. If they'd have held on in both of those, they would be 5 points better off.
I'm not just saying this. Obviously, it wasn't a last minute thing. Not just saying this to be a bit of a twat, but realistically, your season went south after we beat you at your place. It wasn't really the same after that.
I wouldn't go as far back as that. Our season went off the rails when we lost to Coventry.
Oh, that sounds like it doesn't always happen.
I mean, you could copy and paste this for the last 3 seasons. Basically. That our season went off the rails when we lost to Coventry, as that's been the case since apparently the dawning of time. But we'll skip past it. So yes, Wrexham currently 6th, level on points with Hull, but with a 1 better goal difference. Borough 4th, 79 points, 2 behind Ipswich, 1 behind Millwall. Better goal difference than Millwall, worse goal difference than Ipswich. So it's pretty simple. Borough have to win, regardless of anything else. If Borough don't win the game, they cannot get in the top 2. They then need Ipswich to lose and Millwall to not win, and then Borough will be in the top 2. If Ipswich draw and Millwall don't win, Borough need to win by 6 goals to overtake Ipswich's goal difference. So I think it's safe to say it's very, very, very unlikely that Borough get in the top 2. Ipswich are at home to QPR, who have been on the beach for what seems to be the last 45 games of the season. And
Steve Cook just decided to retire. That's
so I have seen this, that apparently. So Steve Cook had announced he was retiring at the end of the season. QPR sort of said, "Oh yes, he's going off at the end of the season. He won't play the last 2 games as we need to look to the future." So they basically early retired him, which I think is absolutely hilarious. Ipswich at home to QPR. Millwall are at home to already relegated Oxford. So I think it's very, very unlikely that both of those teams lose. One of them might drop points. Can't see it being both. So I'd be very surprised if Borough end the day in the top 2. But stranger things have happened. As we've said for Hull, they need to better Wrexham's result. Even if that's a defeat, they just need to lose by less goals than Wrexham do. So there is a scenario where Hull can lose and still get in the top 6. So,
well, you say that
in that regard,
you say it is literally, isn't it, a one goal difference?
Yeah.
So the problem is though, then that's when you need the abacus out, because if we lost 2-0 and they lost 1-0, would be on the same goal difference. So then I assume it would go down to goals.
No, you've gone the wrong way there. Because if you lost 1-0 and they lost 2-0, you'd be on the same goal difference.
So yeah, that's right. So then I assume it would go down to goals scored,
which I believe they're into the 60s.
Yeah, and then we basically don't need to get to that point because it won't happen.
You basically need a 2-goal defeat or a 3-goal defeat for Wrexham, and then And then there's also the elephant in the room that Derby can still get in if they beat Sheffield United. They can even draw and get in because they've already got a superior goal difference to Wrexham at home. They're only a point behind. So basically,
what I'm not looking forward
That's
to
worst case scenario.
is
yeah, exactly.
And this is the exact situation I would have loved to have avoided. They've advertised it's a sellout now. As you can imagine, there's a chance that they might sneak into the playoffs still. Absolutely fine. What that's going to equate to is around 22,000 people of the 24,000 people that'll be around the ground looking at their phone for the entire game and not being in the moment, not supporting the team, just creating an entire amount of nervous energy that just does not need to be there.
Wouldn't get that at the Riverside because there's dick all signal in there, so no one would.
No, but this is the thing.
Only if you've got BT Cellnet, then
This is the thing, though. When that many people in that concentrated of an area try to use their phones anyway, it doesn't even work. But they'll still be trying and they'll still be looking.
Yeah.
And obviously, there'll be the older generation with their earpiece and their little radio.
That's exactly what I was going to say. You need the old boys with their wireless. Their wireless is just sort of like, with the one earpiece. Oh, I think Preston have scored against Old Etonians.
That's exactly what I've got. One next door, but one to me in the ground. The guy has been coming all season on his own, and he sits there with his little.
Good lad.
And then occasionally you'll hear him go, "Oh," and something's happened somewhere else. Or he's having an episode. Not quite at that point yet.
Well, let's not put that into the ether. Jesus Christ. So, all that's left to do is for us to predict how we see this one going. Obviously, it's my team, so I'll give my prediction last. So let's go straight back to Stu for his prediction on Wrexham versus the Borough.
So you know how I said that Hull would need to better their result? Wrexham are at home. Obviously, Mickey Mouse will have his white finger directly up the ass of the referee. So I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw.
Okay.
Which means that Hull won't get in the playoffs. And my only hope would be that Wrexham gets smashed into oblivion by whoever they end up playing. I've got Smith and Dobson for Wrexham and Gilbert and Morris for Borough.
That's the same Morris who blazed over from about 18 yards out.
It is. However, I feel that Whittaker has used all of his goal cards in that last game. He's just spaffed them all in one sitting. So,
yeah, quite possibly. Matt?
I've gone on the more positive side of things. I'm going to predict that Borough are going to do the business. So I've gone for a 2-1 Borough win.
Okay.
On old boy rule, Lewis O'Brien to score for Wrexham.
Oh, of course. Yep.
I've gone Whittaker. And because it's close to where he was scoring goals, I've gone for Tommy Conway. Wrexham's not really that close to Bristol, but it's that side of the country.
It's North Wales versus South Wales, isn't it, I suppose. I'm in agreement with Mr. Moore. I also think that Borough will win the game. I think they're just they're kind of in I know it's only 2 games, but they seem to have got back into a bit of a rhythm. And because Wrexham need to get something out of the game, that'll probably play into Borough's hands. They tend to play better when teams don't just sit in. So I think they might have that chance to sort of like pull them apart a bit, pull them out of position and exploit the spaces. So I've gone for a 2-0. I've gone for a goal each for Whittaker and Gilbert. So we'll see how that plays out and whether that's enough to get Borough into the top 2 and enough to get Hull into the top 6. And we finish the week on a Monday afternoon. As it's Bank Holiday Monday, the Premier League are just taking all the liberties in the world. So we're seeing Chelsea versus Nottingham Forest at 3 p.m, I believe. Let me just double check that. I believe it was 3 p.m. It is indeed 3 p.m. live on the Sky Sports telebox, but in person for those willing to make the journey on a Bank Holiday Monday on the way down to London. Not sure I'd be taking that one myself personally. But Chelsea versus Nottingham Forest. I have gone for a 1-1 draw here. I've gone for João Pedro to score for Chelsea and his compatriot Igor Jesus to score for Forest. Stu?
Also got a 1-1 draw, but different goal scorers. I've got Gibbs White for Forest and everybody's favourite little Torag, Garnacho.
Oh, no. No. Again, don't be putting that into the world. Ooh, awful. Which just leaves us with the final prediction of the week for the Nottingham Forest fan himself. So, how do you see this one panning out?
After Rosinia got sacked, I got worried very quickly because obviously something was wrong with that place, and obviously after their result this weekend, it was the players. So I'm concerned that they're going to come out on Bank Holiday Monday to kind of prove a point to the fans and stuff like that. So I've got a 2-1 Chelsea win.
Ooh. Goal scorers?
João Pedro. And as we always say, if there's an Englishman who's struggling for a bit of form, come and play our teams. So I've got Cole Palmer.
Forest goal scorer?
Oh boy, roll. Amari Hutchinson.
Oh, yeah, nice. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That is the last prediction of the week and brings us to the end of the podcast. But before we go, I do feel it would be inappropriate of me, living in the city that I do. I'll go to Mr. Woodmansey first.
Just a little tidbit. The thing you're going to discuss does need to finish the podcast, but you know how for the last couple of seasons it's become a bit of a whole tradition that either on the eve of the final game or just after the final game, we get a question and answer session with the owner that usually leads to some sort of absolute weird shit. I got an email this morning to say, book your tickets for Friday night. There's an evening with Azure. And it's like, oh my God, it's happening again. So this time next week, there is a real possibility that we could be either in the playoffs, out of the playoffs, or he's just lost the fucking plot again. I know which one would have the lowest odds, put it that way.
Well, watch this space because either way, it'll definitely be worth listening to on next week's podcast. So, as I was saying, with me living in the city that I currently do, but not supporting the team of the city that I live in, it would be remiss of me to not mention the incredible story that played out at Rochdale, where Rochdale were taking on York City in a straight shootout for the winner of the National League. Now, York went into this with the hot hand in that they knew that they could draw the game and still go up as champions. Rochdale had to win to stand any chance of winning the league. And in the last couple of games, both of these teams, or over the course of the season, both these teams have made a habit of scoring deep into injury time. So I, amongst a lot of other people, was very much in the mode of one of these teams is definitely scoring past 90 minutes and will win the game in that fashion. Boy, were we spot on, but not even close to being correct. Rochdale take the lead in the 95th minute of injury time. Cue wild scenes, wild celebrations, pitch invasions, attacking opposing players. People then getting put on their arse for attacking opposing players, quite rightly. And bit of a wild scene. So obviously, heartbreak for all those travelling York fans. They've gone all the way to Greater Manchester, only to see the team lose on the last day of the season. 107 points, not even good enough to get automatically promoted back into the Football League. Referee readjusts the time, adds on additional minutes, obviously because of the pitch invasion and the fact that the time had been ticked over. So I think he gives another extra 4 minutes or so. Cue the 13th minute of injury time, and up steps Josh Stones at the back stick. Question marks as to whether the ball's crossed the line, but apparently if you look at one of the angles, the guy's basically in the goal as the ball hits him, so it pretty much has crossed the line. York equaliser. Cue second pitch invasion of the day, where it's the away supporters that are on the pitch this time. And the game ends as a 1-1 draw, and York City, after, I believe it's 12 years, maybe? 10 maybe, are back in the Football League. Congratulations to them. They'll have lots more money-spinning ties against the likes of Accrington, Stanley, other teams of that nature to look forward to next season. But obviously, they're back in the Football League. So
I thought you were going to say other teams are available just then when you went with
that. Yeah. You might as well Barnet. They're another one that's up there. Chesterfield.
What I'm hearing is we've got to look out for the Vale when the Vale play at York, and then
very good point.
Road trip to Vale Park.
Oh, I could return to the site of my first live football game. That would be.
I've still never been. So, what better time? What better time to go than obviously when Borough draw them in the first round of the League Cup, no doubt. But yes, congratulations to York, and what a way to end this week's podcast. 2 goals in injury time. Wild scenes. Thank you, as always, to the 2 gentlemen you can see on your screen that joined me this week to go through the details of their team. Join us again next week where we'll go through those results. I'll either be sitting here with 2 more games to predict. Stu will either be sitting here with 2 more games to predict, or I'll be wild with joy because my team has upset the odds and somehow managed to sneak into the top 2. And Matt will obviously be looking forward to another couple of games in the Premier League and the second leg of a European semi-final to look forward to. But yes, until then, it's tatty bye from us, and we'll see you in a week's time. Bye-bye.
So there we go. What do you think of that? Another one done, another one gone. Oh, it's getting exciting. Big thank you for watching, big thank you for listening, big thank you for being here. If you haven't already, please do consider like, share, subscribe and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review. Check out the website, thecookiecast.com. There we have social media linked and an email button, and that way you can get in touch with us. That's it for this one. Until next time, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then.
Thank you for listening to these grumpy old men talk about football. If you've enjoyed this episode, please like, share and subscribe.